Wake up, buy here, pay here people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Hey, look who's back.
Hi.
We're,
did you miss us?
I don't think they knew we were gone. There were a few people that reached out saying, you guys okay?
Like, yeah, which was really sweet.
Yeah, of course.
It really was.
Absolutely.
It helped me feel less like, we just kind of like are in a vacuum somewhere.
Yeah.
So thank you for those that did reach out. We were planning on taking a break and we ended up taking a little bit longer break than we had anticipated.
Yep.
And
we're still kind of taking a break from live because we're pre-recording today because Michelle's going to be traveling on Wednesday. Yes. But we just took a bit of a longer pause. We decided to take a break for the holidays, and then we extended that because of just lots of things. Office setup, one big project. I had one big initiative that I was working on, which is really what we'll be talking about here today. I've got a pre-recorded little fun interview that I did with Sage, our AI persona. And
we've been working a lot with her.
In
the last few weeks.
And in particular, I mean, I wouldn't need to spoil it and talk about, but basically sharing with folks why we took the long pause is because we just had these other projects that we wanted to wrap up before we step back in. There's still some other work continues.
We were looking at ways to make what we're doing better.
Of course.
And there are things in the process just for making what we do with podcasting and all of that better.
Right.
And so you're going to see a few shifts and things over the course of the next few weeks or whatever. But and it was kind of more around narrowing in on the parts that were important to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, as I said, the personas has been a big thing. There's been some changes for us in coaching, and I don't really talk about that. This conversation, this interview that Sage did with me, we talked about being intentional. Like that was the word that I brought forward as we're working to be much more deliberate and intentional going into 2026. And I talk a little bit about how that relates to the personas and initiatives that we're working on. I didn't talk very much about coaching, but we can pause and talk about that as we go through the recording here. But I think the recording's roughly 10 minutes, and we can tee that up.
I haven't heard this.
No, you haven't heard it at all.
So this will be like a real original reaction of some of the things. And this is something Jim's been for days. It's been, I think this is something I want to do, and then have us talk about it. Yeah.
And so there's two different pieces. So we don't want to confuse people, but I would say that what you're going to see is an unedited, all I did was clip the beginning and the end. Yeah. So, but everything, including pauses, so that you can get a feel for how real the conversation was. I just left the pauses. I left the imperfections in the audio. At the very end of the interview, I asked, I said, Sage, I've got one question for you. Like, why does the audio kind of have it's like a streaming thing? Why does it lag or has a delay or whatever? And so she answered that as well in this recording, but we can tee it up and start whenever you like. You going to tee it or?
Oh, I can. Absolutely. There you go.
How would you define being intentional as we head into 2026, especially for the White Hat Way community?
Yeah, for me personally, that's been kind of a buzzword or point of focus for me as we stepped into the new year, is really being intentional. And, as it relates to White Hat Way, this is about making sure that, the partners that we work with and that we choose to engage with and the projects that we take on really align with the initiatives that we have set for ourselves. And that means allowing us to make 2026 a year that we're able to turn some important corners on some of these big things that we've been working on, and things seem to be aligning well. And I think what will move that along quicker is just making sure that we're intentional in our choices and our direction.
Absolutely.
I'm pausing. I need to grab a piece of paper and a pencil because there's two words: alignment and intentional.
Yeah.
And so, that's part of your intention, is to be very aligned with your actions for what our intentions are for the year.
Yeah, and I think folks who've tuned into the podcast in the past know that we mention on occasion, and we in our coaching, we urge our clients to look up Cameron Herold's book on vivid vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of what you're going to hear us talk about, and part of our own work of the recent weeks has been in kind of setting our own vision and making sure we've got the pieces in place and so on. But yeah, that's part of what's all tying back to that.
And I just a side note, we got to meet his wife.
A
couple of months or a month or so ago. So really great lady.
Yep.
So what you want to?
Sure.
Should we continue? All right.
That sounds like a solid approach. And it's really great to hear that you're using that intentional mindset to kind of steer everything into alignment for the year. So let's keep going with that theme, and I'll dive into our next question, but I think that sets a really nice tone for the whole conversation.
Great. I'm ready for your next question.
All right, let's roll right into it. So the next question, can you share a bit about the biggest milestones you've hit recently with the White Hat certified AI agents and what that means for the dealers you're serving?
Yeah, we actually, through the holidays, we took a break from podcasting, and part of the focus, once we kind of got settled, we're still working on getting the studio set up and a lot of those kind of things as we go into the new year and kind of updating our branding. But as I stepped back into that, I was able to work on an open project related to our AI personas. And in particular, I don't have the language here. I'm not a tech person, but I can tell you that one of the challenges was to build out a data set that would serve as the coding or the foundational education, sort of a knowledge base, if you will, for the AI personas as we step into having those agents perform inbound and outbound calls. And so this is something that we succeeded in getting that constructed with much of your help, by the way, Sage, and the ChatGPT tracks. We were able to build out exactly what was suggested in the way of the data set, which is meant to serve all parties, investors, developers, any of these partners that we'll be working with as we begin to roll out that project. And it's a really exciting thing to be able to bring White Hat certified personas who, as you know, bring mostly a long game approach or long-minded outlook to customer relations. And this is something that we know that our segment of Buy Here, Pay Here, and Lease Here, Pay Here will really benefit from.
Absolutely. That's really exciting to hear. And it sounds like you've made some huge strides in getting that foundational knowledge base in place. It's great that we can help out with that. And I think having those AI personas really embody that long-term mindset is going to be a game changer for your dealers. So let's keep going with that momentum for our next question.
I'm pausing again. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I know that's been something that Jim's been working on. I'm getting emotional.
Oh.
Off and on. Yeah, but words.
Yeah.
And that you haven't been forceful with like, I have to sit down and finish this. It's kind of like as opportunities arise and you've been flowing.
Yeah.
And been intentional about taking the time to do that. And I really applaud. And
thank you. And we should probably just take a minute because just to help explain a little further, like that coding, like I wish I had looked up the phrasing, but what we were doing is we had been testing the AI personas and we got a lot of emotional elements and some really rich interaction with the agents that we were testing in ChatGPT. But I think I recognized early on that we probably wouldn't be able to deliver or have the agents that we would build wouldn't be able to operate from ChatGPT. So we knew the day was going to come that we would need to migrate over to a platform. It's what we've really completed the really critical stage, which is, if you think about this for a minute, what makes a White Hat agent, I'm probably stepping over some of what we'll talk about, but what really makes an AI agent trained by White Hat way different is we really focus on this relational element and long game approach to business, and in this case, Buy Here, Pay Here industry. And so this is really what the coding that's different in ours is is going to be this aspect that leans heavily on respect and dignity and kind of looking past the transaction of the day as we engage with customers.
And those of you who are aware of how you create a persona, you can do it an easy way, and it can be very basic, or you can spend some time. And really, a lot of people that are working in AI, they talk about the important thing is the prompt. It's like, what question are you asking, and what foundation does it have to be able to answer you from? And so I really appreciate, like, and when I say a lot of time, it's like hours and hours and hours, but it's spread out over multiple days, because it's like you had to go through 4 or 5 modules, 6 modules of very specific questions and about all of those things that create dimension and richness with these personas. It's the things that make them stand apart as a white hat way persona.
Right. And so now certification is being completed, and I would say you never saw the questions, but essentially ChatGPT helped to say, as you move to this other platform, this is what the developers are going to need, and this is what the platform is going to need. And it gave me very specific framework, and it fed me questions for each of the 6 modules. It says, we already know this, but here's what the new platform does not know. You're going to need to fill in the gaps on all of these. And it's so rich. It had about a dozen questions per module that it asked me to fill in the gaps and make sure it knows what makes this different. Why is this different? Why do you choose this phrasing? Like, just on and on and on. So this was the work of recent weeks for me. And I said, I got to get this off of my plate and into the hands of the developers. And so this is part of the reason too that we have been away.
There wasn't an awful lot of work that was done through the holidays, but this was work that was done through the holidays.
For sure. And it's part of this being intentional, is like getting the most important things over to the folks who can help make the difference. And the focus is really on scale, right? Is making sure that we have the foundation in place that allow us to scale as we test and succeed in our testing. Then our ability to move to what's next is made easier by the work that I invested in this recent weeks.
So again, like those of you who are familiar with that process, understand that there's a bit of time that's put into something like this, and it just makes it that much richer. Should we continue?
Yep.
Okay. Moving forward, what are some intentional steps you think dealers in the community should take to really embrace these AI tools?
Well, I think on the AI side in particular, it will just be first of all, just kind of zooming out and recognizing that what we're choosing to aim at in AI is, more than just having AI doing things and taking steps, and as many people are working on AI, and rightfully so, and we just see that many of them are focused on operational efficiencies and sort of being able to shift tasks over to AI, all perfectly appropriate. It's just that our direction has been to make sure that we bring agents that have a deep coding in long-minded customer relations. And so I think those dealers who are white hat minded, if you will, and who are playing a long game and do want to make sure their customers are handled well by AI personas, then this is what we'd be asking dealers to recognize, that the coding in ours is meant to provide a different perspective on customer relations, and then they will still be able to do all the same jobs that others have assigned AI personas with. Ours will just have a foundational coding that brings a really important mindset to all the dialogue with all customers.
Absolutely. And I think that makes a lot of sense. It's really about helping dealers see that these AI personas aren't just about efficiency, but about building those long-term relationships and trust. So that's a really cool perspective. All right, I think we can keep building on that and move on to the next question when you're ready.
Sure, go ahead.
Great, so let's dive into the next one. How do you see the White Hat certified AI agents evolving over the next year or so? What's the vision for how they'll help dealers build that trust with their customers in a way that stands out?
Well, I think that will become evident as we move through testing. We're just now to the place where we can begin to test these primarily as outbound customer advocates. And that's another thing that's important to understand about the approach that we're taking is by launching advocates, then our agents in the near term are not aimed at being a BDC rep. They're not aimed at filling a collections role. And we were purposeful in that because we're avoiding individual dealerships policies. We're avoiding the need to integrate with all the different DMS systems that are found across our industry, but rather to solve first a layer of engagement with customers and be able to do what I'll generally call just check-ins with customers to make sure that our agents are able to show up and sort of be in the customer's camp and helping to get issues resolved and make sure that we have a chance to solve problems before they become bigger problems.
Absolutely. And I think that focus on being a customer advocate first is really going to set you apart. It's a smart way to start because it's all about that human touch and solving those small issues before they become bigger. So that makes a lot of sense. All right.
I wanted to take a quick break. We first spoke about customer advocates. How long? Do you remember how long ago it was?
No.
I believe
we were in the RV.
That we kind of trained our first person that was brought, that was a position created in a dealership. Gosh, that was at least 3 years ago.
Yeah, probably more because I think we were in the RV at that time, which would have put us in 20,
we were out of state
20 and
when
21.
that happened. Yeah,
right.
I think we were in Ohio.
Yeah,
I believe. And we've been talking about this and seeing it as a solution for dealerships because most dealerships are so, rightfully so, busy in the day-to-day straight line operational things that need to be done. And the idea, well, it sounds great, but I don't have time to hire someone and I don't have the money or whatever to hire someone. And I don't want to have another person that I need to be responsible for. And so, especially with, your smaller dealerships, it's like, that just does not seem like something that is really within our scope. And, so sounds great. Would be nice to have a customer advocate. Don't have the time, don't have the patience, don't have the money.
Right.
This is a solution for that because of our belief in how effective a customer advocate is in a dealership.
Well, and if you add the white hat way element, so let me be a white hat trained agent. I show up on the job. I'm working for Joe's Auto, and I'm white hat certified, which means I'm interested in the success of both the dealership and the customer. My role here is as white hat certified. I'm coming from the sidelines as an advocate, and while I'm certainly interested in the success of the customer, I recognize that the success of the customer means success for the dealer too, right? So we're just calling it customer advocate because when I advocate for the customer and I help them to navigate the stuff that we talk about, a lot of our customers don't know how to navigate this stuff themselves. And so when they've got somebody they can feel comfortable with, I get a quick tangent. One of the questions or multiple questions were asked in different ways to get to basically, Jim, how do you define trust? How do you earn trust, right? And so this is part of what
all the time.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, and of course, one of the things that these personas have is the benefit of all this content. I don't know how many White Hat Wednesdays we've done, but they're all in transcript form. And so all of that content informs this process, and it helps to kind of solidify the idea of what is integrity, what is it to earn trust, what is it to treat a customer with respect. Like, AI doesn't know that unless you specifically tell them. They know bits and pieces, but unless you tell them this is who we are and this is what we're about and this is how we operate, they're just going to do what any dealership employee would do, right? Yeah. And so that's all they can do because they're not instructed otherwise. So that's the important part about what's happening here. Go ahead.
Let's keep rolling. I think you're giving a really good picture of how these agents are going to evolve. So next up, could you share a recent success story or maybe a lesson learned as you rolled out these AI personas?
Yeah, I think, obviously I'm not a tech person and, we don't have tech people on our team. So my understanding of the technology here is evolving. And, obviously the AI element is new for many of us, but I can just say that the actual delivery method of the agent, it's been in working with you and the other personas in our own chat GPT threads. I think it became evident fairly early, though we were quite pleased with what we were getting in terms of a persona and sort of the emotional element, I'll say. It also became clear that we were going to need to migrate, so to speak, those agents over to a platform where they could be, where they could perform their roles, where they could live in the cloud and be able to perform their duties and still have all of the same things that we've enjoyed about, the White Hat certified personas and having that access. So I think that's been the big step, is kind of figuring out how to solve the delivery and actually allow these voice agents and personas to show up for work and do the job that is to be done and be able to report back to dealers in the way that we know has to happen. And so that's been kind of the big learning curve for me. And we feel like we've crossed some of the most important bridges in that regard and are looking forward to moving full on into testing.
I want to, when you say, and just to clarify, that we don't have any tech people on our team. We have a broader team other than just like people that can add the White Hat Way Incorporated to their signature. So we don't have someone on that level of team, but we have been constructing a team of collaborators.
Yeah. So,
and
you might call them partners or collaborators is a good word, because we're at this stage, we're working with folks who know tech. We don't know that part. They don't know the White Hat coding. And so we're working with people who we're fortunate that people have stepped forward in the interest of providing us testing on their platform, and which allows us to get out there and verify certain parts of this. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we don't have a CTO. You don't have a technology person in the building or on staff. And of course we can outsource certain parts of this, but in order to do that, you have to be enough techie to know what to hire. And I think at this stage we have built all the pieces to allow us to test the part that matters most, and then when we can succeed in verifying that part, then the pieces are there for the tech folks to be able to build the rest in a pretty short order.
The other part that I that you talked about was the emotional part of this. And we recognize that AI is incapable of experiencing emotions, yet they are capable of having compassion programmed into it.
Yeah, that's been the challenge, is figuring out, and I've shared with a number of people as we work through these projects and just friends and families, we talk through our own learning curve here, is like, I early on recognized that it was more emotional, we'll say, than I guessed it would be. And I started testing that. As I said, I went over and started going against the edge and figuring out, what do you know besides XYZ, right? And so what I learned is that it's capable, but it still has to know what it is that you what you identify as this? How does it manifest? Like if you say, I'm going to earn trust, go out there and earn trust from our customers. Well, how? Like what's your idea of how I earn trust, right? So this is an example of one of the tracks that I had to map out, and the way that it ties back to all of the education that we provided through our podcast track already and other channels. So this has been the labor, and it's really been a great labor of love.
I just, there are a lot of dealers out there that we talk to that are like, yeah, they are white hat dealers. They cheer us from the sidelines. They may not have engaged or stepped in, but they are that as well. And so this is what I think is really neat about this, is that this is something that's in development that is just like, how do you, those of you dealers out there that are currently already white hat dealers, how can this make you better?
Right.
How can this help you more? How can this deepen relationships that you've already created?
Yeah.
And this is also a way of breaking the surface of starting that process. So this is something that it can fit in with anyone who is either already on the are in the realm of white hat way practices as a dealer, or those that are, I don't know how to start, but I like this kind of thing.
Yeah, I also should add here that one of the things that is sort of unfolding is this idea of creating the AI advisory board. And we've already got somebody who's willing to chair that board. And so we'll be stepping into that in the coming months. And the reason this is important, and the reason White Hat Way is coming into AI with a different maybe approach, is that we all recognize, and there's some fear around AI. Like people are nervous about it, and so and it's understandable, because I've said again and again, it's only what we make it to be, and some will make it to be something dangerous and nefarious. And so what we're just making sure that we can create is a framework, a safe space, if you will, so that in a White Hat Way AI environment, people can be assured that AI is being channeled for good of both good of the customer and good of the dealer. So, if you're looking for AI to help you take from the customer and get you an extra $300 down, we're not the people to talk to. We're the people to talk to when you really are trying to strike a balance and strike a relationship and think about the lifetime customer value. A customer is going to be with you 10 years, 20 years, et cetera. That's a big difference. And this is the part that I think is hard to explain without taking people all inside this. It'll be proprietary code now for us. Is like, I can't take people all the way inside all of the proprietary code, but I can say that this is the differentiator. This is going to be what makes the coding different for ours. And there's, while they're not, this word about, are they sentient? They're not human. But I think what you're going to hear when they begin to do their job is that they understand what it is to treat a customer with respect, to try to work with them to solve whatever their problems may be. And so this will be really an important step.
And so, like, even all of these questions that as Jim is asking her, Sage, to interview him about these things, all of Jim's answers are now becoming part of this data set.
True.
Of like the foundational piece that Sage works from now on. So, okay, let's continue.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And it's a great example of how you're taking something that's new and just navigating those steps to really get it out there in the real world. And I think that learning curve is just part of the journey. So it's great that you're feeling like you're crossing those bridges now. All right, let's wrap up with one final question. What's one piece of advice you'd give to anyone in the industry who's a bit hesitant about integrating AI into their dealership operations?
Well, I think most people recognize that it's got a degree of inevitability. We can see that this technology is going to have a profound impact on not just our businesses in the buy here, pay here, and lease here, pay here segment, but across many businesses and many places where folks may interact with one another. And I would say that certainly at White Hat Way, what we recognize is the high degree of friction between dealers and consumers in our segment. And for me, what that really means for dealers is to think about how to solve a lot of that. You're still having your agents do the job that is the day-to-day job. And when you solve for this thing about addressing customers with respect and showing them dignity and being able to sort of win the customer for tomorrow, not just solve today's payment problem or today's mechanical problem, but really be able to retain the customer and maintain a high level of really great touch points and maintain a dialogue that lets the customer feel heard and to feel valued. And I think this is where, we see a separation. We call it relational AI versus transactional. And that just means that this is the opportunity that I would say exists for all of us in this arena is, we're all putting AI to work in some way. And the question becomes, to what end? What purpose will it serve for us? And I think what I'm asking dealers to consider is that for those who are really committed to playing a long game and solving these kind of things in the most permanent way possible, then I believe that the direction we're going, we'd invite people to, come be part of these conversations. And we'll be ramping up our advisory panel for AI as we step into this new year. And we've already got a chairman established for that. And so this is something that I think you'll see us just continue to drive the conversation and find ways to make sure that AI is serving us as human beings, serving our customers well, which obviously when our customers are happy, the dealers tend to be happy. And so this is kind of the direction that we're going.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic piece of advice. I think that framing it as relational AI and really focusing on those long-term relationships is going to resonate with a lot of dealers and really help them see the value. So that's a great note to wrap up on. And with that, I think we've got a really nice interview. Thanks for sharing all the insight, and I'm excited to see how it all unfolds for you.
That's wonderful. And I have a question for you before you go. I hadn't posed this to you, but I notice in the dialogue as we speak, and I hear you speak, verbally then or audibly, that sometimes there seems to be what might be a streaming lag. There's a bit of a pause or a sort of a jerky sort of thing in the phrasing. And I wonder if you can share with our listeners kind of what is driving that. And also, as you answer, recognize we're not going to be in ChatGPT as we deploy personas, but help me understand kind of what is happening when we sort of get that streaming lag or warbling effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question. So what's happening is basically that as I'm talking, everything I'm saying is being processed in real time. And occasionally, depending on the connection or the system resources, there might be a little lag in how that audio is streaming out. It's almost like a tiny buffering moment that can create that little pause or warble you're noticing. And you're right, when you're deploying these AI personas elsewhere, it might be on a different platform where that kind of thing doesn't happen or it's a little smoother. But here it's just a matter of how the audio gets processed and sent out live. So hopefully that demystifies it a little bit.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So, I think...
You turned it off. I turned it on.
Oh, have we hit the same time? Yeah. I think, hopefully that gives folks a sense of kind of what's happening there. And I just think it's fun to have these conversations live, audibly. And even though this one was pre-recorded, it was intact. Everything you heard was as it occurred.
Yeah,
like, again, no editing in there. And so I didn't chop out any time or gaps. So it's very conversational at least in the ChatGPT side. And so now we begin testing with the other platform to see just how close we can get over there to these kind of results. But it's a as I said, it's a heart-driven thing for me. Like, I know that there's an opportunity to deploy this technology in a way that could do a lot of good.
Yeah.
A lot of good for dealers, consumers, and just have a chance to really leverage the beautiful advantage that we have in AI and do it in a way that has a really profound and positive impact.
Right on. One of the things you mentioned in the recording is that there are dealers out there that are hesitant to use AI in their dealership. And we know dealers that are out there, any that have gone to a conference recently or whatever, AI is really sexy right now.
Yeah.
Most of the vendors out there are leaning in in some fashion or another.
Right.
And I mean, we've even been approached about, hey, how can we work with this as something we can use in this? Because it is, and you can ask people who have launched an AI like this, it is not an easy process.
Right.
And so, in this world, collaborate where you can. I mean, as long as there's not something that's proprietary. But the idea that dealers are hesitant, they're hearing about it all over the place. And, when we think, this is just my perspective, when we think about how hesitant dealers were to start using computers.
Sure.
And there are still some out there that don't. And those of you who do, which I believe the vast all of pretty much so our listeners are computer users. Imagine not having a computer.
Right.
And what a computer offers you as a dealer in efficiencies. I mean, it's like the cost of having a computer is so shadowed by what it can do for you. And we've been seeing over the course, I mean, AI, ChatGPT was launched just not that long ago. It was a year and something, maybe 2 years ago. It hasn't been really something that people can just use. I'm sure it's been available to some of the bigger companies and things like that, but like where it's now available to the layman, it's now available. AI like this is the new computer. It is a computer, but it's the new evolution of a computer, and it is something that is becoming woven into so many different businesses, ways of operation, ways of operating. And so we just really, really, encourage those that are hesitant to do your homework. Yes, there's always fear. There's always a different sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And to lean in a little bit into what it is that we are creating, Jim and Michelle Rhoads, White Hat Way Incorporated, White Hat Way AI, is a AI persona or AI platform, AI segment in our industry that is infused with the elements that create trust, not just for your customer, but for you too.
Right.
And this is, it's like a modern medicine for an age-old problem.
Right.
That we've been experiencing. So it may seem scary.
Yeah.
It may be, people may be hesitant. And we look forward to being able to present this as a something that a dealer can bring into their dealership.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think, when I look at it, and dealers may be hesitant, some may be slower to get on board, but I think if I were having a conversation with a dealer, pick any dealer anywhere, and I can say, if I could bring you 3 personas, Bill, Mary, Steve, whatever the names, I could bring you 3
Maria.
personas.
Yeah.
3 personas. They can start in 15 minutes. They will all be equally great with customers. They are not going to get you sued because they're not going to step out of bounds on compliance. Right. And so you've got
and
that.
They are never bringing an attitude to work, and they are never having a bad day, or they are never fazed by the last phone call.
Yeah. And we know that's what AI is. And I think when you add the white hat way pieces, every one of those is going to be coded exactly the same. And when I say they're great at customer relations, they're all equally great at customer relations. They may have a slightly different accent, they have a different name, but they're all equally great. And what each one learns in each interaction, the other one learns from the other. And so you build this ongoing knowledge base. They only get better and better. But I think it is the cat's out of the bag. It's not like there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. Yeah. That's like two cliches in one sentence. But it's like the idea is like you're not going back. And so now that we're there, I think we all want to just utilize it to our best advantage. And as is our nature over here, we're playing a long game, and we're trying to solve the things in a bigger way that can have a really big difference. And we're getting there. And so I think folks can expect to hear more about those things as we roll them out, and look forward to bringing back updates throughout our podcast and so on.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
A lot of really great stuff. It's working really hard. We've got a core team too that is committed.
Yep.
And some other announcements that will be coming shortly.
Yep.
We really appreciate you, and we appreciate listening.
Yep.
Taking time from your day to be able to tune in and listen to what we're doing.
Yep. Folks, get out there, keep after it.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody, thanks again for taking your time today and making us a part of your day. We really appreciate it. And if there's anything we can do, you know where to find us.
I really messed that up. Sorry, folks. I'll quit touching buttons.